Chapter 27, Caught in the Act. It has been 2 days since Yuna set up her sealing array. She is still sitting down cross-legged in the middle of it, with her 2 hands pointing at each other. The only thing different from her initial position was that instead of having 2 different chakra natures constantly fighting each other between her palms, there was now a small piece of ice that was constantly changing shape. At first, it was changing at a snail's pace, but the more time passed, the faster the progress became until Yuna could easily change its shape in a fraction of a second. After reaching that level, she opened her eyes with a satisfied smile on her face. That went reasonably well. I can already control small amounts with ease. A few more weeks of training and I should be able to start with bigger amounts of chakra. You do realize that what you did should literally be impossible, right? Yuna only scoffed at that remark. It might be impossible for others, but as long as it involves ice, I have the confidence to do it. I don't think I can recreate the other Kikei Genkai like this, but I don't really care about them anyway. You truly are a monster, aren't you? Haha, that's right. After finishing her training, Yuna quickly went back home. However, the moment she entered, she heard Hinata's scream. What is going on? Is someone using my absence as a chance to attack us? No, that is impossible. The defensive seals I put into the flat are still fully functional. Luckily, I still made it back in time. After quickly moving through the flat, she reached the living room and saw a rather unexpected scene. Hinata and Naruto were currently laying on the ground, on top of each other, in the middle of the living room. Yuna quickly scanned the room for enemies and immediately realized what was going. The corner of the carpet in the middle of the room was flipped over. Did Naruto trip over the carpet? What kind of shinobi trips over a carpet? However, their current position could easily be misunderstood. A mischievous smirk appeared on Yuna's face as she swiftly approached the duo. Sorry Hinata, I just tripped over the carpet. Don't worry about it, Naruto, I am fine, I do. Hinata, however, stopped talking as she saw Yuna approaching from the side. Hinata saw Yuna's face and immediately paled in horror. Naruto naturally got concerned for Hinata and wanted to ask what was wrong with her. Before he could do so, he saw something approach from the side. Seeing the crimson-red hair from the corner of his eyes, he paled in a similar fashion to Hinata did. Oh my Tilda, to think I would find the 2 of you hugging passionately on the floor the moment I entered the living room. The duo paled even more after hearing Yuna's teasing while simultaneously thinking the same thing. She will use this against us for months. I need to explain the situation quickly. Yuna-san, that's not it, Naruto, I just tripped over the carpet. Hinata and Naruto despaired even further after they gave their explanation in sync. They knew they were done for. As they expected, Yuna's grin widened even more. Oh my Tilda, you are even talking in sync, truly 2 lovebirds. Naruto and Hinata didn't even need to talk with each other to know their situation. They were already done for. No matter what they said, it would be used against them, so they did the only thing they could think of. They got into a fighting stance and attacked Yuna while again having the same thought. If I beat her up hard enough, she might forget about it. Haha, good, come at me together and show me the power of your love. Although this sentence caused both of them to stagger for a moment, they quickly caught themselves and started charging at Yuna even more fiercely. The fight ended like it did every time. Yuna defeated Naruto and Hinata, but she at least let them get in a few attacks so they could vent some frustration. After they finished their fight, Yuna told them that she is happy that their relationship has advanced and then went to her own room to leave the 2 alone with each other. Naturally, she was attacked by them yet again after saying that. You really enjoy teasing those 2, huh? Haha, of course. Nothing more fun than teasing those you are close to. However, aren't you worried? Worried? About what? About Hinata falling for Naruto? Why would I be worried about that? If she does, then it's fine, and if she doesn't, then that's fine as well. She can choose whoever she wants. Huh? Weren't you grooming her to be part of your harem? Yuna almost coughed up some blood after hearing that. What the hell? When did you get that impression? When you picked up a random girl, removed the curse seal that was branded her, and then started training her unconditionally? Okay, if you say it like that, it does sound pretty obvious, but I seriously picked her up on a whim. So you are saying that you don't want her for your harem? Whoa there, let us not say things we might regret later. If she grows up some more and is interested, I wouldn't say no. As expected. Now that I think about it, when we first met, you mentioned multiple times that you want a harem, yet you don't seem to be doing anything to reach that goal. Already changed your plans? As if. There is an order for everything, only the strong can do whatever they want. Before I seek an extravagant life, I need the necessary strength to defend it, after all. Besides, getting an adult woman to trust you enough for her to want a relationship with you isn't exactly easy when you are just 8 years old. That does make sense, I guess. Now, let us discuss what is truly important. Why do I get the feeling that whatever you want to discuss isn't actually truly important? *A anyway, I need to come up with some good pranks to play on those two. There is no way I will let them get out of this without getting some really good prank out of it. As expected, again. Should I just give Naruto a huge box of condoms for Christmas? No, wait, will he even understand what they are for? Probably not, right? If he doesn't understand the implication, then it isn't funny. Maybe I could just give him my book and then make a knowing smile towards Hinata's direction. Maybe pat his back and give him the "I know you can do it" look. After plodding a while longer, Yuna quickly fell asleep, and when Yuna finally did so, Hinata and Naruto, in their respective rooms, could finally fall asleep as well. They had some idea why they constantly felt shivers going down their spines and really didn't want to think about it too much. Author's note: changed some parts and left some parts unchanged. Overall, I think I like this chapter better like this. Chapter 28, Sasuke Uchiha. Author note: I rewrote the chapter caught in the act. I advise you to read it again or you will be rather confused later on. You can start it after finishing her training, Yuna. Since everything before that hasn't changed. It was the morning of the next day and the trio was currently sitting inside the academy classroom with bored expressions on their faces. Their teacher had just entered their classroom and finished wiping the cake out of his face. He seems to be getting used to the cakes. Should I try out a different flavor next time? So far, I have been going with the classical cheesecake. Maybe a strawberry cake next time. Everyone be quiet, I have an announcement to make. Uchiha Sasuke has not been attending class due to some circumstances. He will be returning today. Yuna, of course, already knew about that. She had felt his presence standing behind the door and was actually wondering why he wasn't coming in. It seems like the teacher, for some reason unknown to Yuna, decided to announce his presence. Well, she kind of knew the reason: he wanted to bootlick. What Yuna couldn't understand was, why would someone bother to bootlick him? The powerful Uchiha clan was gone. All that was left was a single child that a normal genin could probably beat up. Most girls in the class, however, seemed to think differently as Sasuke entered the classroom under deafening cheers. "Berg, please turn down our shared hearing, this is really obnoxious." Instead of answering, Yuna channeled some chakra into her ears to dampen the sound. Guess that works as well. Yuna gave Hinata and Naruto a glance and saw that they were doing the same. The two clearly weren't impressed by this display either. Seeing the way Sasuke moved and acted, Yuna could only shake her head in exasperation. The higher-ups in Konoha probably wanted him to see someone to heal his damaged mind, but the way he has all that hatred and anger bottled up nicely for later use is a clear indication that he refused all of them. She could only let out a sigh and mutter under her breath. *Sigh*, troublesome. Surprisingly, she was in sync with the person sitting in front of her. A young boy that had shoulder-length hair that was tied up into a spiky ponytail and looked like he was about to fall asleep out of boredom very soon. When Yunus and his eyes met, however, there seemed to be quite a bit of curiosity in them. The two only gave each other a nod and then proceeded to listen to the lesson that was finally starting after the cheering died down. Seems like I have found someone interesting. What do you mean? Wasn't that boy simply bored of what just happened? Not at all. Well, okay, he probably was bored, but that isn't the important part. If two normal children went through that kind of situation, how would they most likely react? Although Kurama still had problems understanding humans, he usually tries to imagine how a normal human that he has got closer to recently would react. Since Yuna is out, for obvious reasons, he usually imagines how Naruto would react. After thinking for a while, he concluded they would find it funny. Correct. That, however, isn't all. When he turned around, he subtly scanned me and analyzed how I hold myself to get a glimpse of what my personality is like. He has a fast brain and is very talented in analyzing other people, but he hasn't learned how to be more subtle about it yet. He looks very similar to the current advisor of the Hokage, Shikaku Nara, so he might be related to him. Didn't everyone introduce themselves on the first day? If you knew his last name, you immediately would know his clan. That's true. Unfortunately, I wasn't paying any attention to the introductions because I couldn't be bothered. The class was as boring as always, but it seems like today's second to last class was finally something a little different. They were led out of the classroom and onto the training field next to the academy. All right, I want everyone to run laps around the training field. I want everyone to try to run at least 10 laps. If you can do more, then feel free to do so. The trio glanced at each other and then gave a nod in understanding. They naturally wouldn't give it their all. Especially Naruto and Yuna, who, considering their abnormal stamina, could probably run laps all day without getting exhausted if they paced themselves properly. And so, they started running laps. Yuna and Naruto would stay near the front of the crowd while Hinata would stay in the lower middle field. It would be suspicious if the two Jinchuriki had low stamina after all. The results of this exercise were rather obvious. Those not born inside a shinobi clan barely made the 10 laps and collapsed afterward, while most of the children from shinobi clans made around 20 and then just stopped. They were exhausted but clearly could keep going if they wanted to. Hinata decided to stop after 14 laps to show everyone that she was barely better than someone from a civilian family, while Naruto and Yuna stopped after 19 laps to show that despite being demons, they actually were no real threat. Of course, the golden boy, Sasuke Uchiha, only stopped after 25 laps to show everyone how powerful he was. He's even got an inferiority complex going. I should have just accidentally killed him that day. Told you so. Only a dead Uchiha is a good Uchiha. His big brother would probably have come to hunt me down if I did so. That would have been really annoying. That is true, I guess. I really wonder if this damn academy will become useful at some point in time or if it will just stay as useless as it currently is. We spent the first few weeks learning how amazing Konoha is and how the shinobi of other villages enjoy nothing more than eating still living children, and then we had to do this pointless running exercise that could be considered a slightly too extreme warm-up for the shinobi children and an almost impossible task for the civilians. Guess they wanted to show the civilians how superior the noble clans of Konoha are. After another boring class, the school was finally over. While they were going home, however, Yuna stopped and looked in a certain direction. There she could see a black pineapple-looking Heika that was moving in another direction. A smirk appeared on her face as she made a decision. Naruto, Hinata, go ahead without me, I have something to do. Okay, Yuna, Nei-san. The two were already used to Yuna doing her own thing, so they didn't even bother asking what she wanted to do. She quickly disappeared into the shadows of a nearby alley and could immediately feel her stalker giving up following her. It has reached a point where the people following her around wouldn't even try to follow her anymore when she decided that she wants some private time. Nara clan, huh? I can't deny that I am a little curious about them now that I have seen their heir. Chapter 29, Shikamaru Nara. Yuna has been following Shikamaru for a while now and couldn't help but chuckle at his antics. He was slowly walking through the streets, while occasionally stopping, just to blankly stare at the clouds for a few minutes. I see. While looking forward and seeing other humans, his head immediately starts to analyze them subconsciously, but when he looks at the sky he doesn't have to do so. This probably makes him enjoy watching clouds since it frees up his thoughts. Are you sure about that? Isn't he just a lazy bum? No, I'm pretty sure he is significantly smarter than he lets other people know about. I want to be a cloud. Anyway, let's follow him for now. I investigated Shikaku Nara a little and he could be a useful ally someday. Even if it turns out that the boy is simply lazy instead of smart, at least meeting Shikaku Nara should be worth the trouble. Won't he just report you to the Hokage? It's probably fine. From what I have experienced so far, the Hokage just seems to be a figurehead or maybe someone else's puppet. In Kushina's memories, I could see that the Hokage actually had a good relationship with Minato. He would have at least shown up in front of us incognito a few times if he wasn't controlled by someone. Even if I get called to him, it's probably fine. I'm not doing anything illegal and the shinobi side of the village isn't stupid enough to believe in baseless rumors and hate me for it. For now, let's follow the boy home and see if I can cause some mischief. As expected, it all boils down to that, doesn't it? Hiruzen Tsurutobi was currently cursing Yuna inside his mind. The more he thought about what she had done to him in the last few years, the more vicious the curses became. Why is he cursing her? Because every time a shinobi fails a mission, there is a massive amount of paperwork he has to fill out. He naturally wanted to simply remove the mission of guarding Yuna permanently, but the other three elders immediately kicked his door down and told him that it is unacceptable to not have someone guarding their Jinchuriki. Hiruzen immediately stopped cursing Yuna and instead directed his hatred at the three elders. Curse after curse was mentally thrown at those three and Hiruzen was just about to calm down a little when the ANBU that was assigned to watch Yuna today appeared in his office. Hiruzen's hatred was ignited yet again as he started cursing Yuna, the elders, and most importantly, the paperwork. It has been another troublesome day for Shikamaru Nara. The day at the academy was, like every day so far, pretty boring. The only thing that keeps him interested is the cake prank. Well, rather than the prank itself, he is interested in how it is done. He was completely mystified how something like this could be set up. He figured out rather quickly that someone has to remote control it somehow, but he has no idea how. No wires, no hidden mechanisms, nothing. He would never admit it in public, but he actually enjoyed solving riddles like this. A riddle he couldn't solve, even after he had been thinking about it for multiple weeks, is certainly rare, and he would get to the bottom of this one day. Today, it was actually extra troublesome at the academy since they had to run laps instead of just sitting around a classroom. Shikamaru really wanted to stop after 10 laps, but he knew his mother would probably nag him for days if she heard about that. High risk, small reward. Not worth it. Now that he thought about it, something else happened today as well. He met eyes with the girl that has been sitting behind him since the start of the academy, Yuno Izumaki. She somehow gave off a different feeling than the other children. More mature and composed with deep, calm eyes. There is definitely something unusual about her. I have also heard rumors about her and her twin brother. For some reason, a lot of civilians call them demon twins. Now that I'm actually thinking about it, why is a Hyuga girl with them as well? Another riddle, huh? Might as well give it some thought. After a few more minutes of walking, Shikamaru reached his home. He quickly greeted his parents and was just about to leave for his room when his mother told him to help with dinner. Shikamaru had no other choice but to nod his head, but told her that he wants to change into something more comfortable first. He quickly walked to his room and started changing clothes. So troublesome. Rather than help mother cook, I would rather watch some clowns. Now, you should spend some time with your mother. It will make her happy, you know. I know, but it's just so true. Shikamaru froze up completely. Whose voice was that? Where did it come from? Shikamaru quickly spun around to face the origin of the voice. There on his bed, a young girl was lazing around while smirking at him. Is that Yuno Uzumaki? Why is she here? How did she even get in here? Why didn't I notice her at all? What does she want? Shikamaru's brain got completely overflooded with questions. Before he could properly answer a question, two new ones would already have popped up. Shikamaru's body, meanwhile, was, yet again, completely unmoving. This was something that can happen to people that are exceptional at analyzing situations. If the situation is too absurd, they simply freeze up. This is something that would never happen to, for example, Naruto. If he doesn't get the situation, he would just push forward. Shikamaru was just about to gather his thoughts when his father opened the door. Shikamaru, your mother WAN. When he entered Shikamaru's room, he saw a young girl sprawled on his son's bed, while his son had already taken his shirt off and was just about to remove his trousers as well. Just like Shikamaru before him, he froze up for a moment, but since he was an experienced shinobi unlike Shikamaru, he quickly started to realize what was actually going on. Well, that was, at least, what would have happened if Yuna didn't pour any oil onto the flames. She nervously got up from the bed. She looked incredibly uncertain about the situation and was clearly uncomfortable. As soon as she stood up, she gave a bow toward Shikaku's direction. Hello, Lord Nara. I am in the same class as your son, and today, after class, he ordered me to follow him home because he wants to have some fun. This time, Shikaku truly froze up as his mind came to a complete standstill. Shikamaru's condition wasn't much better either, especially if you consider that the color of his face was turning paler by the second. He was, however, already making plans on how to defend his case, while simultaneously making plans on how to survive on the streets of Konoha in case his father actually believes Yuna and kicks him out of the house. Shikamaru knew that his father wouldn't be frozen like that for long, so he had to quickly structure his arguments. Before one of the two Naras could react, however, the sound of two knees hitting the ground was heard, followed by two hands, and then fa ha ha ha. Loud laughter echoed through the room. The one who was laughing was naturally Yuna. Shikamaru and his father, meanwhile, were completely gobsmacked. They could only stare blankly at the young girl that was currently rolling around on the floor while laughing boisterously. Chapter 30, An Uzumaki Clan Secret. What in the world is even going on right now? Shikamaru Nara was confused. No, he wasn't just confused, he was completely incapable of understanding his current situation. He was currently peeling potatoes with his mother. That part was still fine. He would rather do something else, but he could at least understand why he was doing it. The problem was that a young girl with shoulder-length, crimson-red hair that was interlaced with blue strands was currently standing next to his mother as well and was skillfully peeling potatoes, too. Oh my dear, you are really good at this. Yeah, I have been cooking for my little brother since we were 3 after all. Shikamaru could feel anger burst out of his mother for just a moment before it was replaced with sadness. Why did mother get angry just now? Why did she suddenly get sad? No, wait. Why did Yuna have to cook for Naruto when she was only 3 years old? Shikamaru, your hand stopped moving. Although Shikamaru heard his mother, he didn't answer her. He only nodded his head and mechanically restarted peeling potatoes. He was still deep in thought, coming up with scenario after scenario of what might be the truth. Yuna naturally also noted how the emotions of Shikamaru's mother changed. This immediately gave her quite a bit of information. As expected, this couple probably knows my true identity, and they might even have wanted to adopt us or know some people that wanted to do so. Well, I don't need to be a genius to know who blocked that attempt. Hee, just you wait, Danzo, I will do all kinds of fun things with you when I can finally get my hands on you. Now, no need to worry so much. It's not like I had a bad life so far. Yoshino Nara, Shikamaru's mother, was rather shocked at how easily Yuna not only read her emotions but even interpreted them. Exactly how much does she know about herself? I have heard that she knows about the Kyuubi, but is there more? Does she know about her parents as well? Yuna could more or less guess what she was thinking but decided to not bother her anymore. After they finished making and eating dinner more or less wordless, Yuna decided to finally get to the most important part of today. Shikako, do you mind if we talk about something in private? Although it felt weird to him that such a young girl was casually talking to him with his first name, he simultaneously felt that it was weirdly fitting for her to do so. Shikamaru, on the other hand, had another bomb detonate in his head. He already spent their whole dinner pondering the situation, but before he could even finish thinking, another bomb was dropped. For some reason, Yuna wanted to talk to his father, and she even addressed him casually. What the hell? Shikaku pondered over it for a moment and then nodded in agreement. Let's go into my study, we can talk there. The two quickly stood up and left an utterly stunned Shikamaru behind. He quickly looked at his mother and asked the question that has been bothering him the whole time. What the hell was that all about? You need to be a bit more precise about what you mean for me to answer you. I mean all of it. From start to finish. There was not a single part that made sense. Yoshino pondered a while and then nodded her head. Indeed, if you don't know anything about Yuna, our interactions would probably feel weird. Oh well, not like I can tell any of that to Shikamaru. Well, don't worry about it. I'm going to sleep, I have a headache. Good night, Tilda. Shikaku and Yuna, meanwhile, climbed up a few stairs and moments later, arrived in Shikaku's study. Yuna scanned the walls of the study and immediately frowned. Do you mind if I upgrade the room a little? Upgrade? What do you mean? I am talking about this. Yuna pulled out a small scroll and unrolled it onto a table. Shikaku immediately noticed that the seals are the same seals a storage scroll uses, but the scroll itself doesn't look like the one sold in Konoha. Before he could ask any questions, Yuna pushed a bit of her chakra into the scroll and with a puff of smoke, 6 huge paper tags appeared. Every one of these tags had a size of 1 square meter. When Shikaku saw what kind of tags these were, his eyes almost fell out of their sockets. No way, is that a set of privacy seals? These are ridiculously hard to make and obscenely expensive. Where did she get them? Did she get scanned and bought a bunch of fakes? Before Shikaku could sort through his thoughts, Yuna had already accepted his silence as an agreement. In her opinion, there was no reason to reject such a nice offer. It was just a bunch of low-level privacy seals after all. There was no way she would ask for a favor in return for giving such a simple gift after all. Just like that, a weakness from her past life has shown itself. Yuna had no idea how to handle wealth or even what was considered worth a lot. She could produce the seals easily, so she assumed they weren't worth much. When she doesn't use a hand when shopping, she constantly gets scanned but doesn't even notice it. She notices that the shopkeepers have malicious intentions towards her, but that is pretty much the same for 90% of the village. If the price she has to pay for food is around 5 to 6 digits away from what she actually possesses, she doesn't even bother thinking too much about it. A few seconds later, Yuna had slapped one of the 6 seals on each of the 4 walls, ceiling, and ground, and a few moments later, the paper tags started to glow while the seals painted on them started to wiggle around. They started to move away from their paper tags, and a few moments later, the walls, ceiling, and ground of the whole room were covered in seals. They glowed one last time and then simply vanished. Yuna lifted up a much smaller seal tag and gave it to Shikako. This is the activation seal, put it wherever you can reach easily. From now on, Shikako could activate the privacy seal whenever he wanted to. What Yuna didn't mention, however, was that she might have, completely on accident of course, slipped a few runes in to gather information. Shikako only stood there, still, completely dumbfounded by an 8-year-old girl that just casually used such an expensive seal inside his run. Where did you even get that seal from? Yuna pretended to ponder that question for a moment and then quickly gave her prepared answer. She gave Shikako a mischievous smile and answered him. Uzumaki clan secret. Shikako could only groan at that answer. 3 simple words, yet there was a massive number of implications behind them. The easiest one to handle would be if Yuna simply found some Uzumaki clan scrolls somehow, and the hardest one to handle would probably be that an adult from the Uzumaki clan has somehow survived and has secretly come in contact with Yuna. He could already feel that he would, without a doubt, have a headache after this conversation was over. Chapter 31, Re-establishment. Haha, no need to make a face like that, Shikako. I don't mind revealing a few things about me under certain conditions. And what are these conditions? I want to meet the Hokage in secret and bring one additional person with me. A person that has helped me a lot. Although Shikako seemed calm on the outside, he was cursing his bad luck on the inside. Shit, so she really has had someone to help her secretly all these years. Was it really an Uzumaki clan member? Why would you want to meet the Hokage? To find out whether he can be trusted or not. Shikako immediately stood up in outrage. Of course, he can be trusted. Yuna, however, only looked at the angered Shikako with indifference. Since it seems so obvious to you, please tell me, why should I trust him? Please don't start spouting some nonsense about the previous wars or how he protects Konoha as its Hokage. Why should I, Yuna Uzumaki, as a person, put even the smallest amount of trust into Hiruzen Tsurutobi, considering what has happened so far? The room descended into a heavy silence. Yuna simply waited for Shikaku's next words with an indifferent face. Let's see where Shikako stands in all of this. If he starts to dribble about the wall of fire, I'm leaving. If he can see things from my viewpoint, he might actually be worthy of a little bit of my trust, and if he tries to wiggle his way out of the question, then I will just use him until he stops being useful. Shikako, meanwhile, was still in deep thought. I see, from her perspective, she was abandoned by the village at the age of 3. She has, since then, shouldered everything on her own and in the process even protected her little brother from harm. When she heard Hokage-sama's speech at the academy entrance ceremony and heard him say how he considers the whole village as his family, she definitely wasn't elated like the other children. She probably felt secure in it. That was probably the moment she lost her trust towards him as well. What a mess. Ha. I see the village has truly wronged you. Yeah, but I stopped giving a shit about that years ago. I am not here to assign blame or seek compensation. I have my own goals, and to reach them, the Hokage's help would be useful, but not strictly necessary. Useful, but not necessary, huh? Since it is something she wants Hokage-sama to help with, it probably isn't something bad for the village. And what are these goals? Knowing what I am dealing with might make it easier to convince Hokage-sama to meet you in secret. Yuna pondered for a while and then nodded her head in acknowledgement. Fair point. I'm willing to tell you the goal that's relevant to the situation, but only if you tell the Hokage about it in this very room. Why would I do that? The Hokage's office also has a privacy seal. because there is a certain person close to him that I trust even less than the Hokage. Shikaku's eyes widened for a moment as the figure of a certain bandaged person came to mind. Does she know about Danzo? How much does she know about him exactly? No, more importantly, did she just hint at Danzo being capable of spying into the Hokage's office? There is no way he would do. He might actually do something like that. While Shikako was judging whether Danzo really would do something like this, Yuna tried to hide her smirk. Another little stab at his reputation, and if they actually find something, it will be a pretty good stab as well. Yuna took out another scroll and casually tossed it toward Shikako, who, despite being caught off guard, easily caught it. Guess I might as well sweeten the deal a little. Inside that scroll is a sealing tag that helps detect living beings. Just activate it and you should be able to see the presence of people in a radius of 100 meters. It is a one-use item and stays active for about a minute. If everything goes well during the meeting, then these will be sold in Konoha for a reasonable price in the future. Of course, the one I gave Shikako is a little bit special. I might have, yet again, completely by accident, of course, hidden some seals in there to spy on the Hokage office. Shikako, meanwhile, had to hold himself back from salivating over the possibility of such a sealing tag. Scouting would be so much easier with this. It would be like every one of our scouts had a limited form of the Byakugan. Since she hinted at there being a spy inside the Hokage office and tossed me a scroll that could detect hidden people seconds later, her intentions are rather easy to read. She wants me to show off the scroll right in front of Hokage-sama, huh? Guess I will have it tested for traps and then I might as well give it a try. There is still something else. Considering Yuna just took out a seal I have never even heard of, the likelihood of another Uzumaki clan member being involved pretty much became 100%. This, however, could be a great chance for Konoha as well. Having someone from the Uzumaki clan inside the village who is willing to sell his seals would be an amazing boon for Konoha. All right, I agree. I will only speak about this whole conversation with Hokage-sama when I am in this room. Good, here is my goal. I want to re-establish the Uzumaki clan, but this time as one of Konoha's clans. Yuna had actually been thinking about this for a while now. She wants to establish her own base of power. She might be a powerful individual, but some things are almost impossible to do alone. Especially when it comes to gathering information. The more she spreads her net, the harder it will be to sort through everything. From what she has heard, the people of the Uzumaki clan are all fiercely loyal to their own families. There will certainly be some survivors from the lands of whirlpools. If these people hear that the Uzumaki clan is gathering again, they will, without a doubt, come over as quickly as possible. As for why she wants to do so inside Konoha instead of the land of whirlpools, she would rather not have her new base of power be overrun by the 3 villagers that did it the first time, just a few years after rebuilding it. Shikako, meanwhile, was busy picking up his jaw from the ground. That was certainly quite the bomb Yuna just dropped on him. I see, re-establishing the Uzumaki clan. That certainly is a grand goal and explains why she wants Hokage-sama's help. The best way to do this is probably to do it stealthily. Collect a lot of members without anybody noticing and then let them have a compound for their clan before anyone even gets a chance to complain. That's probably also why Yuna doesn't want even a single person more than necessary to know about it. It took the combined efforts of 3 villagers and heavy casualties to take out the Uzumaki clan the first time. There is no doubt that they'll be far from being that powerful if we manage to gather them now, but having a clan with this much potential would be a great addition to Konoha. Additionally, the Uzumaki never cared for politics or reputation. They just want to have a fun life together with their family. If they can have their children accept Konoha as their family, they will give everything they have to defend it. Hide the Uzumaki clan for as long as possible, and when they ultimately get revealed, show the world just how much of their strength they have recovered. That should stop people from getting any funny ideas. This would also give a great boost to Konoha's troops. With the Uzumaki clan inside the village, our shinobi can use seal tags like they use shuriken. Just casually using them without a care in the world. Good? I like it. Having a clan as powerful as the Uzumaki clan will certainly boost Konoha's strength. I will try to convince Hokage-sama to accept the secret meeting. Haha, great, don't worry, Konoha will certainly benefit from this as well. I am looking forward to it. The Uzumaki have always been allies of Konoha. It would be great to re-establish that relationship as well. Although Yuna sneered inwardly, she still gave Shikaku a happy smile when she answered him. Of course, that would be great. Always been allies. What a jerk. Used until no longer worth using is much more fitting. I can't wait until every single seal in Konoha is made by the Uzumaki clan. Let's see how they'll abandon us when that would mean no longer being able to use any kind of seal during battle. They quickly wished each other a good night. Yuna left the Nara clan compound and returned home with a satisfied smile. Spy seals in the Hokage's office and the office of his aide. A pretty good harvest for one night. If I can get that secret meeting, things will get even more interesting. I can't wait to introduce them to the supposed second person I am allowed to bring with me. Chapter 32, Negotiations. It has been a month since Yuna had her conversation with Shikaku, and today was the date of the meeting. Hiruzen and Shikaku were currently inside Shikaku's office and were waiting for Yuna and her mysterious support to arrive. They both had rather conflicted expressions on their faces. The very next day, after Shikaku met with Yuna, he had some people analyze the sealing tag for traps, and after finding nothing suspicious, Shikaku activated it with Hiruzen's consent inside his office. The result? An additional presence was found inside, and the moment Shikaku wanted to move, the person had already killed itself with poison. Neither Shikaku nor Hiruzen had a single doubt who that person was working for, but had absolutely no way to prove it. They waited another 5 minutes before someone knocked on the door. Hiruzen quickly told the person to enter, and the door was opened. The first person to be revealed was naturally Yuna herself. She had a casual smile on her face as she walked into the room, seemingly not the slightest but pressured by the presence of the Hokage himself. The next person who entered was a very old-looking woman. Her face was marred with wrinkles and her steps were slow and careful. Despite being very old, however, she still had the Uzumaki clan's trademark red color. Her hair, however, had a much lighter color than Yuna's. Shikaku really wanted to curse when she saw the old woman enter. He was hoping Yuna's helper would be someone much younger and easier to influence. This woman, however, seems to be even slightly older than Hokage-sama himself. Then Shikaku met eyes, however, and immediately threw that motion out of the window. Slightly older than Hokage-sama. What a jerk. Her eyes are beyond ancient. For just how long has this woman lived? Seemingly noticing his thoughts, the woman looked towards him and started speaking. It's rude to guess a woman's age. Understandably, Shikaku was terrified out of his mind. His face had been kept completely neutral during his thoughts, yet this woman immediately understands what he was thinking. Yuna saw that the performance had a reasonable effect, so she decided to initiate the next step. Now, Grandma Kaien, don't bully Shikaku. Let's start talking. The old woman, Kaien, immediately had a doting smile on her face as she answered Yuna. Haha, it is the privilege and enjoyment of the old to scold the young. Princess Yuna, you should let an old woman have some fun. Yuna only rolled her eyes before she answered. Fine, Grandma Kaien. Hiruzen and Shikaku, meanwhile, were slightly disturbed by what just happened. To be more precise, they were disturbed by a single word, princess. They both decided to shelf that for now and ask about it later. For now, they had to greet their guests. Greetings, I am Hiruzen Tsurutobi, the current Hokage of Konoha, and this is my aide, Shikaku Nara. Kayan slightly shook her head at that greeting. Oh my, kids nowadays are so stiff. Oh well, the name is Kayan Uzumaki, an old woman that enjoyed teaching kids when the land of whirlpools still existed. You already know her, but I will introduce her anyway. Princess Yuno Uzumaki, eldest, still living member of the royal Uzumaki bloodline. Although Hiruzen was rather dissatisfied at being called a kid, he somehow knew why this woman was calling him like that. Besides, there were more important things to discuss right now. May I ask, why are you calling Yuno a princess? Kayan only tilted her head in confusion at that question. Because she is. Well, the land of whirlpools is gone, so I suppose it would be more appropriate to say that she was a princess. No, that is not what I had in mind. I would like to know, why are you calling her a princess at all? Kayan seemed to get even more confused at that. Well, she is Kushina's daughter, right? Although reluctant to just reveal such a secret, it was obvious that the other party already knew about it, so he simply nodded. Didn't little Mido tell you anything about who Kushina actually was? Since the chakra of those from the Uzumaki royal family is the best at suppressing the bija, it is only natural that one of them would be sent to Konoha to reseal the Kyuubi. Hiruzen almost spat out blood when he heard the term little Mido. If he had called Mido Uzumaki, or rather Mido Senju, like that, he certainly would have earned himself a beating, yet the woman in front of him did so casually. That means she is probably from an even older generation than Hashirama Senju himself. For now, however, there were other problems to solve. For example, how Konoha had a royal bloodline in their village without anyone knowing about it. Kayan, naturally, notices Hiruzen's distress and chuckles a bit. No need to think too deeply about it. The Uzumaki clan never cared too much about that anyway. How about we get to business already? My body isn't the youngest anymore, you know. Second step, taking away all of Konoha's momentum before the negotiations even start. Successful. Now that Hiruzen thinks that Kayan is significantly older than him, he will, out of instinct, be inclined to be more polite to her. Next, the negotiations for the re-establishment of the Uzumaki clan started. Hiruzen didn't even consider not doing so, which allowed them to skip the first part of the negotiation. All in all, it was a rather boring affair. Yuno had created a seal that would react to members of her bloodline, while Hiruzen would tell a few trustworthy ANBU to carry the seal around when they were on a mission. If they found some Uzumaki clan members, they would explain the situation to them, and if they were interested, they could enter Konoha after dyeing their hair in a different color. If a huge number of people with Uzumaki red hair suddenly enter Konoha, people would certainly get suspicious. For now, those people would only meet in small groups, but as soon as a certain amount of people is reached, the Uzumaki clan would return. In return, the Uzumaki clan would sell their seals to Konoha's shinobi at a premium price. Hiruzen had no illusions that the Uzumaki seals would remain exclusive for Konoha. If pretty much every other nation on the continent demanded to be able to buy those seals as well, then Hiruzen would have no other choice but to agree. Because of this, he was more than satisfied at just receiving a good price. The discussion took them about an hour, and afterward, everyone left the Nara compound with a satisfied expression. As soon as Kayan and Yuno were sure that no one was following them, a similar-looking smirk appeared on their faces, and, with a puff of smoke, Kayan disappeared. Seriously, Monado, why did you hide a jutsu this useful in a scroll you labeled "Awesome Ideas for Combos and How I Could Name Them"? Yuno was truly satisfied with today's meeting. The trade conditions were appropriate, and from now on, Uzumaki clan members would slowly gather in Konoha. That, however, wasn't even the best part. The best part was, without a doubt, that Yuno literally didn't expose any significant secrets about herself. All the abnormal things she did when she was younger would, from now on, simply get that she got help from an adult, or that she used a seal she got from her guardian treatment. Chapter 33, Chains. It has been a year since the secret meeting with the Hokage. At this point in time, Yuna could occasionally see Uzumaki clan members walking on the streets of Konoha. If you know what you have to look at, they are pretty easy to spot. None of them are happy with the color of their hair. Another thing that has slightly changed is that the success rate and accuracy from scouting missions have increased. Yuna has also noticed that Hiruzen had, pretty much all the time, a huge stack of paperwork on his desk, with Yuna actually being responsible for quite a bit of it. She felt, however, that this wasn't her problem. She didn't ask for any guards after all. Hiruzen can just cancel the mission permanently and everything will be fine. In the last few weeks, Yuna felt that something was slowly changing in her body. At first, she simply thought it would be puberty, but that was apparently not the case. Her chakra set run was slightly changing. There are no reports about this in Konoha's medical records. Yuna, however, had a pretty good guess of what this was about. It's probably the chains, isn't it? Ugh. I would rather you don't awaken them. Sorry, that's not an option. If I can awaken them, then I will. If something can increase my strength, I will naturally use it. Yeah, I know that already. Just like that, Yuna kept meditating, while occasionally poking her chakra set rum with chakra or her will. After another hour of this, she finally felt something change. With an excited grin on her face, she imposed her will on her chakra to form into a chain, but no matter what she tried, the chain just wouldn't form. MHH, how weird. My instincts are telling me that I can form my first chain, but something is still missing. She kept pondering a while longer when the realization finally hit her. She almost wanted to hit herself for missing something this obvious. I am not Kushina, why am I trying to form the same chains that she has? Yuna didn't even need to think a second longer to understand what kind of chains she would form. She exerted her will on her chakra yet again, but this time instead of just having it form a chain, she simultaneously had it take on a certain chakra nature. This was not easy, even for Yuna, who already managed to gain a monstrous amount of chakra control, but she didn't mind. Or rather, she was happy about it. She just found another exercise to push herself even further. It took her a whole minute to finally reach her goal. A single crystalline, snow-white chain was coming out of her back. The moment it appeared, the temperature in the room immediately dropped. Yuna, however, was enjoying the cold. For her, there was nothing more calming than breathing in the ice-cold air. Finally. At least they look different. Indeed. Now let's start perfecting it and then I can start working on the second one. Yuna's face distorted in a weird combination of glee and madness. Just how much have I missed this? The exhilarating feeling of getting stronger. And soon, I will finally experience that again, won't I? In this new life of mine, it should be possible again. Just how much longer do I have to wait? Yuna's face twisted even further as she, for the first time in her new life, realized that she could experience what she enjoyed the most in her new life again. A few weeks later, Yuna was lazing around in the academy. Teachers would only teach a class for a single year, so they had a new teacher now, and this one seems to hate the twins significantly less than the previous one. This naturally meant that he would get hit with cake significantly less than the previous one as well. No one bothered to think too deeply about it, except for one, Shikamaru Nara. He immediately noticed that the cake attacks were significantly reduced and tried to understand the difference between their current teacher and the old one. He easily deduced that the difference was how they treated the twins, and after collecting data for a few more days he confronted Yuna. You are the one responsible for the cakes, right? Yuna, however, only smirked at him and then gave him an answer. Prove it. Shikamaru could only gnash his teeth at that. She basically admitted that she was the culprit, but Shikamaru still couldn't do anything. Just a statistic of two things that seemed to correlate wasn't enough. He needs to find out how it is done. He had to do it to satisfy his curiosity and thirst for knowledge. As for helping out the teachers, he couldn't care less. If they can't even see through the pranks of one of their students, then they deserve to be pranked. Yuna, on the other hand, was currently preparing herself for the arrival of IT. She could already feel IT approaching the classroom, and just as she finished protecting her ears with chakra, IT arrived. Today I'm sitting next to Sasuke Kun. No, Han. No, I. A gaggle of girls stormed the classroom, screeching at each other to sit next to their beloved. Yuna was already getting a headache just from seeing it. Why are these women even at the academy? They clearly just want to become a trophy for some powerful figure and have no interest in becoming shinobi. Well, rather than being a trophy, they probably think they are the princess that gets saved by a knight, a shinobi in golden, black armor, tight-fitting clothing to make it easier to kill people stealthily. For a brief moment, she imagined Sasuke in golden armor with a heroic expression on his face, and she couldn't help but chuckle a little. Unfortunately, that startled the witches. Is there something funny, Idiot Twin? Idiot Twin was the nickname that was given to Naruto and her last year, and Yuna found it rather hilarious. Imagine people that think they will survive a battlefield because a kid with anger management issues will protect them, calling you an idiot. That was just too hilarious. Yuna was still musing about what to answer when the next person was already pitching in. That's right, idiot, got something to say? Yeah, what? As more and more insults kept being thrown at her, she considered if she should just kill all of them and be done with it, but then decided against it. Might as well have some fun with them. It would be weird if I didn't show some of my capabilities after revealing that someone taught me in secret, after all. Hee, I was naturally thinking about your first real fight. I just couldn't help holding in my laughter when thinking about it. This sentence naturally silenced the crowd, and just a few moments later, the fangirl fraction started to clamor again. So even someone like you understands? This moment will definitely show just how awesome Sasuke-kun is. That's right, Saz. Yuna saw the group getting more and more excited, and when their excitement was at the peak, she finally decided to say a few more words. I know, right? I just can't wait to see what becomes of you after Sasuke defeats his enemy and somehow manages to survive the conflict. Will you simply die instantly due to your incompetence? Will you somehow manage to fight back a few moments and then be defeated, just to be used as sexual relief for the people that attacked you? Maybe you will simply freeze up in the presence of danger, be captured, and then sold as a sex slave later on. So many exciting possibilities, don't you think? After these words, a heavy silence descended onto the room. After a few more seconds of silence, a young girl with long blonde hair that was bound into a ponytail approached Yuna and threw out a punch. There is no way Sasuke-kun would let something like that happen to me. Her fist was aimed straight at Yuna's face. Yuna, however, didn't move at all. She already knew what would happen. Just a moment before her fist reached Yuna's face, another hand appeared and caught the young girl's punch. Don't you dare to hurt my Nei-san, Ino Yamanaka. Naruto's pupils actually distorted a little and took on a red hue while glaring at Ino. Ino, on the other hand, took a few steps back in fear. She has always been treated like a princess, and this was actually the first time someone got angry at her. It took her a few moments to regain her composure. She was just about to retaliate when... Okay everyone, please sit down, the next lesson is starting. The teacher entered the room and prevented Ino from retorting. She gave another glare at Naruto and Yuna and then left for her seat. Wasn't that pretty damn cute right now? Little brother protecting his sister from harm. Pretty good stuff. You do realize that such a weak punch probably wouldn't hurt you at all, right? Of course I do, but that wasn't the point. Yuna lifted her hand and started to pet Naruto's head. Well done, little brother, that was really CU, **, manly. Although Naruto blushed in embarrassment at being treated like a little child, he still had a happy smile on his face due to Yuna's praise. Unfortunately, rumors spread very fast, especially at a school, so before the school day was over, everyone was already calling Naruto a siscon. Chapter 34, Unleashing the Lioness on a Doting Father. It has been a week since the incident at school, and Yuna was currently sitting inside the Hokage's office with an amused smile on her face. Next to her sat Naruto, who looked really nervous. On the other side of the table sat Hiruzen Tsurutobi, the Hokage himself, who was flanked by two blonde people. Ino Yamanaka, whose face was beet red in shame and clearly wanted to be somewhere else, and her father, Inoichi Yamanaka, head of the Yamanaka clan and chief of the memory extraction section of Konoha's T&I department. Hokage-sama, this is unacceptable. Because of those two, my little princess got scared and I demand them to be punished. That's right, he is here for what happened at school last week. Ino had casually told the story to her father, and before Ino knew what was going on, her father had dragged her into the Hokage office to complain about it. She thought her father would give her some advice, but instead, the argument of a few children was brought in front of the Hokage himself. Ino glanced at the Hokage and could clearly see him getting more and more irritated the more her father spoke. She really wanted to stop her father from talking, but she didn't dare to casually start speaking in front of the Hokage. There was, however, someone in the room who did dare to do so. Wow, that is such an interesting story, Inoichi. Can I go home now? I still have things to do. Everyone in the room froze up when they heard Yuna's comment. Even Inoichi, who was currently occupied with telling everyone in the room why his daughter was the cutest and that everyone should protect her, froze. It took Inoichi a while to regather his wits, but when he did, his head became red in fury. You dare to speak to an adult like this? Show some respect. Do you even know who I? ****. While Inoichi was gathering momentum for another rant, Yuna yawned loudly, which, yet again, stopped Inoichi's rant. A vein could be seen pulsating on his forehead as he sent a small wave of killing intent towards Yuna. Unfortunately for Inoichi, it washed harmlessly over Yuna without even making her twitch, surprising both Inoichi and Hiruzen. While the two were stunned, Yuna casually dusted off her clothes and started to speak to Naruto. Well, Naruto, let's go. The show is over. Naruto was, naturally, completely dumbfounded by that sudden declaration, but he still stood up obediently. Inoichi wanted to start another rant when the door to the Hokage office was opened with a loud asterisk bang star. Inoichi casually glanced at the door to see who dared to enter the Hokage's office like this, but when he saw the intruder, his face became deathly pale. Inside the doorframe stood his wife. She had a kind smile on her face, but to Inoichi it looked like a demon was smiling at him. Inoichi dear, I think I told you, just a few days ago, that you shouldn't bother Hokage-sama with trivial things, didn't I? Inoichi was terrified out of his mind. No, I no SSCIIJ just I. Inoichi was looking at his daughter for some support, but unfortunately for him, Ino was currently occupied with looking at an extremely interesting part of the wall. Next, his pleading look landed on Hiruzen, who seemed to have found an equally interesting-looking part of the wall as well. In a last act of desperation, he looked at Yuna for support. To his surprise, she gave him a warm smile that seemed to say that everything will be all right. Inoichi immediately felt better about the situation. He somehow managed to convince himself that Yuna will actually help him. Seeing Inoichi's hopeful face, how could Yuna not backstab him immediately? Without any warning, tears started to freely stream down her face, causing everyone who could currently see her face to be completely dumbfounded yet again. Yuna turned around with her face full of tears and looked towards Inoichi's wife, and as soon as she saw Yuna, her motherly instincts kicked in. Naruto, in another instance of quick-wittedness during pranks, quickly hugged Yuna. Don't worry, Nei-san. I won't let that bad man bully you. That was more than enough to unleash the lioness onto Inoichi. With a speed that even surprised Hiruzen, Inoichi was dragged out of the room by his wife, accompanied by a tongue lashing that might make it into more than one history book. As soon as the two of them left the office, Naruto stopped hugging Yuna. She had a rather satisfied smile on her face. "Good job, Naruto. That was really quick thinking." "Hee, no problem, Nei-san. If it is about pranks, you can count on me." Seeing how Yuna and Naruto could happily chat with each other about how they just sent a man to hell, a little girl and an old man had, despite their difference in generations, the same thoughts. Those two are demons. The difference between the two was that Ino got enlightened after that thought. "I see, that is why everyone calls them the demon twins. They would plunge someone into the deepest pits of despair and not even bat an eyelash at it. I should probably leave these two alone from now on." "Wait. Haven't I already provoked them? Am I done for?" Cold sweat started flowing down Ino's back like a river when she imagined being in the same situation as her father was currently in. "I need to apologize. That is the only route to survival. They just finished off my father, I will be easy picking for them." Author note: Inoichi is not dead. He just wishes he was. Ino quickly said her goodbyes to the Hokage and then left his office. Hiruzen, meanwhile, was getting flashbacks of the scoldings he had received from his wife and was zoning out more and more. Ino quickly caught up to the twins and stopped them. "Please wait a moment, I want to say something." Yuna and Naruto turned around with an indifferent expression on their faces. They, naturally, didn't have a good image of Ino, so her next words were rather surprising for them. "I would like to apologize for what happened in the classroom last week. No matter how angry your comments made me, I shouldn't have tried to attack you. As for today, I'm sorry about it, as well." Naruto had no idea how to deal with the situation. This was pretty much the first time someone outside of those he considered family apologized to him. Yuna, on the other hand, thought about it for a moment and then nodded her head. "You have no need to apologize for what happened today. You clearly didn't want it to happen, either. As for what happened in the classroom, how about we make a little deal? I would like you to do something. I will completely forgive you if you do it." At first, Ino was rather happy that Yuna didn't hold a grudge against her for what happened today, but when she heard that Yuna wanted her to do something, she was terrified out of her mind. She couldn't even imagine what kind of terrifying task Yuna had for her. Despite that, she decided to push on. She would rather do something terrifying than to be forced into a dead end without knowing about it, like her father. "All right, what do you want me to do?" Seeing Ino's "I will put my life on the line" expression, Yuna couldn't help herself but chuckle a little. "It is nothing hard, you know. The next time you are alone with Sasuke, I want you to ask him the following question: if you had to kill everyone you know, including me, to get your revenge, would you do it?" Although Ino was confused by this question, she was also elated by this. There was no way her Sasuke-kun would do something this cruel, after all. Considering Ino entered the classroom with tears streaming down her face and sat as far away as possible from Sasuke the next day, that assumption was probably not correct. Chapter 35, Ino Yamanaka. The academy just finished and Naruto, Hinata, and Yuna were currently on their way home. While Yuna had a rather casual smile on her face, Hinata and Naruto seemed to be rather awkward about something. They were constantly exchanging glances and then looked at Yuna, seemingly waiting for her to say something. Unfortunately, she never did say anything. After another few minutes of awkward walking, Hinata finally decided to say something. "Yuna, it seems someone is following us." Yuna thought about it for a moment and then nodded her head. Truth be told, a total of 4 people were following them. The usual 3 and a new person. That person was Ino Yamanaka, who clearly wanted to talk to the trio, but didn't know how to start the conversation. "I know, don't worry about it too much. After she manages to gather her courage, she will naturally come and talk with us. Gather her courage. Naruto and Hinata were naturally confused by that. If Hinata wanted, she could just activate her Byakugan and take a look at who is following them, but Yuna told her to not overly rely on it, since that would dull her skills. Yep, the person who is following us is actually... Yuna, please wait a moment. I want to talk with you. The trio turned around and Naruto's and Hinata's eyes widened in shock after seeing Ino Yamanaka appearing behind them. They both couldn't understand why she still wanted to talk with Yuna despite what happened yesterday. Yuna, on the other hand, wasn't that surprised. Despite how she acted during class, she wasn't totally retarded. Now that her hero worship for Sasuke is gone, she should be able to think about her situation and realize how dangerous her behavior was. Skipping training to fawn over boys isn't really a good way to survive on a battlefield. Yuna still had a casual smile as she answered Ino's request. Sure, I don't mind. I don't think you want to talk in the middle of the street, do you? Let's go to our house and we can talk after dinner. Although Ino wasn't sure about the situation, for now, she only nodded her head in agreement. It took the four a few more minutes to reach their home and enter. As soon as they reached their home, Yuna and Hinata went off to the kitchen to cook something, while Naruto sat down in the living room and started to meditate. Seeing that everyone was doing their own thing, Ino felt even more awkward. Naruto, why aren't you helping with cooking? A frown appeared on his face and he decided to just keep quiet. Unfortunately, for him, Yuna had heard Ino's question. It is because every time he cooks something that isn't instant ramen, it turns out horrible. Ino couldn't help but chuckle a little when she heard that and chuckled some more when she saw how Naruto's face turned slightly red after he heard Yuna's teasing. Ino couldn't stifle her curiosity, so she directly asked the next question. Why did you start meditating? Because that damn old man is especially grumpy today. Ino didn't notice, but when Naruto said old man, he winced for a split second as if someone had just shouted into his ear. What? Don't worry about it. Ino gave him a suspicion-filled glare, but Naruto already went back to meditating in an attempt to prevent further questioning. Unfortunately for him, he managed to awaken Ino's curiosity. Why do you look so different from Yuna, despite being twins? Why wouldn't I? We just met on the street someday and decided to become twins. Why is Hinata living here? She is our daughter. Why does everyone hate you? I am too good-looking, so people get envious, and my sister is the reincarnation of a demon. Why do you two have whiskers? It is the physical representation of the demon inside us. Didn't you say only your sister is the demon? I said people are envious of how handsome I am and didn't say that there are no demons sealed inside me. Is anything of what you have just told me true? No idea. If you could reread my answers to me, I might be able to cherry-pick a truth or two out of it. Ino couldn't help but pout angrily at Naruto since she received no information at all from her interrogation. Why aren't you telling me anything? A smirk appeared on Naruto's face as he was prepared for that question. His face became solemn as he pretended to be a wise man. A shinobi's greatest weapon is their secrets. Ino got even angrier when Naruto acted like an old man teaching a child a life lesson. Naruto, however, thought that her angry face was rather cute. After all, when Yuna is angry at him, she just keeps smiling at him. An angry Yuna smiling at him is something that could appear in his nightmares. He has learned by now that making Yuna angry is not a good idea. While the two people were quarreling, Yuna re-entered the living room and saw the spectacle before her. She couldn't help but smirk a little at such a good opportunity. Oh, good job, Naruto. When is the wedding? Both of them started to blush while their heads turned towards Yuna and glared at her. Haha, just look at you two, you are already completely in sync. Nei-san, is that really necessary? Seeing the despair in Naruto's eyes, Yuna chuckled a little and then shook her head. Fine, I will let you off easy this time, but it is not really my fault that you try to seduce every woman that enters the house. Nne-san. Wahaha, okay, I'm sorry, but did you see Ino's face when I said that? Absolutely priceless. Anyway, Ino, there is no need to worry about Naruto. He wouldn't hurt a fly. Naruto gave a sagely nod and decided to at least return some fire. That's right. Who you really should worry about is Nei-san, who wants a harem of women for herself. This information is actually something Naruto got from Kurama. Naruto was annoying the hell out of him and Kurama wanted something to distract Naruto. Gossip like this is just perfect for such a moment. After hearing Naruto's words, her head immediately snapped towards Yuna. Ino expected her to deny it immediately, but Yuna didn't say anything since she was deep in thought. Is Naruto trying to counter my teasing? He sure has grown up, hasn't he? Oh well, he is a few million years too early to attempt teasing me. A perverted smile appeared on Yuna's face. She lifted both of her hands and started to wiggle her fingers like worms. Hee, that's right, little girl. Why don't you come with Aunt Yuna and I will show you something amazing, gu-hei-hei. Ino couldn't help but recoil away from Yuna when she saw that display, while Naruto was completely dumbfounded as well. Who is this person and what did she do to my aloof Nei-san? Seeing the shocked faces of the people in front of her, Yuna started laughing yet again. Ha, that sure got you good, didn't it? Ino was visibly relieved that Yuna was just playing a prank. I see, so you were actually acting and don't actually want an all-female harem, right? No, that part was true, you know. Ino could only look dumbfounded at the person who boldly made such a statement, while Naruto felt that the aloof image of his Nei-san was slowly crumbling.